to understand the space itself was so difficult to actually set up a business, and things like that were challenging. So after all that was done, right, one of the biggest challenges as a startup that I continue to face today and yet not found a solution is how do you hire talent and retain them for the times that you need to keep them, right? So that's something, it's an unknown for a lot of companies, and especially when you're in the tech space, it is ever changing. People are moving every day. The technology comes about differently and all that. So everybody says you have to hire who basically complements you, right? That's one of the mantras I took back to hiring. But I don't think that really works in my experience. You know, if you must find somebody who complements you, you found your replica of you, and it isn't really doing good. So then I think we quickly change the formula to find people who are completely opposite of you and are able to, deliver what you're looking for. You cannot always be, everybody cannot be thinkers. We need people who are executors as well. That was one of the learnings that came about from that challenge that we are facing. Apart from that, I think it has been a very smooth journey, starting a company, and after the initial hiccups, it's been very smooth, and the ecosystem in Hyderabad. One of the other challenges that people told us was Hyderabad is not tech friendly. You need to have your headquarters in Bangalore, right? That was one of the things that was told to us. So we said, but love Hyderabad, why not? When you love the city, you really need to make it happen in the city. So there were so many advices from the investors. Everybody said, you need to be in Bangalore, that's why you want to. So we didn't do that yet. No, I don't know if that is going to help us in the long run. For all the people who are here at the investor board, I am appealing to the change that image that actually we come across every day. But I think it's, having heard all that, I cannot say it's bad. And I think it is a very decent ecosystem that supports and helps foster the entrepreneurs in the tech space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gervaise Colbert. I'm a serial entrepreneur from the Netherlands. I made my money in marketing, communications, PR, and movies. And now, closer. Now I'm doing several businesses with a business partner from Hyderabad. And one of the things that I would like to do, I would like to start up an Ayurvedic brand that would be suitable to bring it to the European market. Because I think the European market is a little bit different. So if anybody is interested to help me with that, and that we can grow together and make that help, so that Europe can benefit from all the beauty of Ayurveda, please do let me know. If you are asking about challenges, Jyoti, then I would say I face the same challenges as we all face. How to create a beautiful team and keep it with you. How to find clients that are willing to pay what you want them to pay. Those kinds of things. However, as a woman, I totally agree. I totally agree with Mr. Apollo Hotels. He had a beautiful lecture for all of us. That you always should be humble, and that you always should be willing to serve tea to everybody. However, there is one moment I do not want to serve tea for you, and I will warn you about that. When you ask me for a board, and I'm the only woman, don't expect me to serve the tea. I will leave it to you guys. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Monica. I'm the CEO founder of a company called Ekiva. We largely do co-working spaces, managed offices, and this is a very exciting time for our industry, but like every industry, and especially real estate, of course, we've had several ups and downs. So challenges are like for any business. It's always about creating a product that's relevant, and there is a customer who likes your product, and that you're constantly thinking ahead to say, are you future ready to solve the problem of your new customer who you don't know yet? And to solve all these problems, like all these ladies say, what's very, very difficult all the time is to get the right team, and to get the right team to stay with you. So you take a lot of time, effort, pump in so much of hard work to get the right team. and then it's about retaining them, which it's your heart and souls. So and I am a first-gen entrepreneur. I come from a family of bureaucrats, lawyers, and public sector officials. The first time I told my father, hey, this is what I'm trying, honestly, I thought he'd flip out and say, what the hell are you doing? You're working with an MNC, you're making enough money, be happy there. He said, go ahead, try. If you don't try now, you're going to regret later in your years. Challenges have been there. I've been in an industry which has been largely male-dominated, just had to pave the path through and just be perseverant. But challenges are very similar. It's, I think, what every business goes through. Yeah, that's...
Hello everyone, my name is Prashanti Reddy and I am an immigration attorney from New York City. My journey is very similar to a lot of the lovely ladies here. I studied in Osmania University campus and then I went to the US and did my LLM from UPenn. And yeah, so there are challenges that you face as a business. Everybody faces those challenges. But there are unique challenges that you face as a woman entrepreneur, right? And I think it's important to identify those challenges and try to find, I guess social change is the only way that you can actually overcome those challenges. But it's good to talk about it, right? And these kind of, this podium is great. These kind of opportunities should not be let go. So when I finished my law school, I joined the High Court in 1994, 95, and there were very few women attorneys in the High Court, not respected at all. I was young, I was a woman, so a double whammy for me. Everyone looked at you strangely. No one respected you at all or thought that you were credible. So we had to overcome all those challenges. In addition to being young and inexperienced, being a woman also we had those challenges that we had to overcome. And then went to the US, gave the bar exam there, did my LLM, etc., etc. And then joined a law firm and went for this is a good story, went to the immigration court for my first appearance. And I was representing a client. And, I am a woman and I'm an immigrant, person of color. So, again, challenging. Then I go to the judge and the judge asks me, where's your attorney? I'm like, I am the attorney and I'm well dressed. I'm wearing a suit and I'm, well presented. And so those are the challenges we had to face as well. Now, of course, and then the other challenge I think is pivoting from being an attorney and thinking like an attorney to being a business person, a businesswoman, right? There were some things that I had to unlearn because there are some things that you don't do as an attorney but you have to do as a marketing person or a salesperson, right? So when you're a woman, doing marketing is difficult, especially if you have a big team and all that, that's great. But even if you have a team, you are your best brand, right? You are your brand. So you have to market yourself. And we're always taught as children to be humble, not to talk about yourself, not to project yourself too much. So it was hard for me to talk about myself and to say, oh, I'm so-and-so. I've received these awards, even though I have, because it seemed vain. Right? So I had to overcome that kind of intrinsic learning that I was always taught to be humble and not talk about yourself. So that was difficult when I first started out. And then going into a room where you don't know anyone, and maybe it's a room full of men and there are no women in the room. And the first few times I had to go up and just introduce myself to everyone. Right? There are all these little groups of people, and you're networking. You just have to go out there and say, hi, I'm Prashanti Reddy. Right? But it's hard to do that in the beginning when you're young, especially when you're a woman. So those are some of the challenges that you overcome with age, with experience, and with confidence. You get some amount of confidence in yourself. And, you always have to keep reminding yourself, I'm a woman. I am Shakti, right? I am powerful. So if you remind yourself over and over again, you will become that. So I think it's important. There are many things that we can overcome. And there are many, there's a lot of personality that a woman has that is actually, there's an advantage. And so we have to use that to our advantage as well. we have a better way of communicating with people. We're better at that. We're better at showing empathy. So I think using that to our advantage also helps. Thank you.
So Devika, I know more or less you have seen the similar things, right? While you're introducing, can you highlight what is changed now, right? Would you see things changed while you are speaking about challenges?
Sure. Before that, I just want to say hello, good evening everyone, and I also want to thank ISF for giving us this opportunity to share our experiences for the benefit of all the women entrepreneurs. And I also want to convey my special thanks to J.A. Garu, because we both share the same district. I was born in Anantapur, and I met him as a child. And I, of course, throughout his career, I always looked up to him and the source of inspiration for so many of us. And for the past 2 days, I learned so much from all the speakers and all the startup founders. And thank you once again, Jay Garu, for giving us this opportunity and inviting me to speak at this platform. Okay, coming back to your question. Oh my God, I heard so much from my fellow women, all these amazing women. I don't know what to say. But yes, coming back to your question, a lot of things have changed. When we started, started off our firm, things were so different. It's even finding funding. It was, I thought, having a law degree wouldn't be difficult to go to a bank and get a loan. I was so naive, to design and find out how difficult it was to actually secure a loan. When I went to see the bank manager and I showed him my law degree, he said that that's not enough. You don't have credit history. Little I knew that, in a new country, as you know, I was born in India, but then moved to Canada. That's where I graduated from law school. And then I decided to go into my own private practice. So it was very difficult securing loan and start off, secure clients and start off your firm. But then now, if I have to start my firm, it's very different. There's so much, resources available and networking and also mentorship, right? All the law societies basically in North America offer mentorship programs. If a young lawyer wants to go into, own practice, they have plenty of resources and also networking opportunities. As Prasanthi was saying, in our generation, we would hesitate to go and introduce ourselves and exchange cards and then ask for what you're looking for, right? But these days, when I see young lawyers, they would come up to you and introduce themselves without any hesitation and talk about themselves, where they went to law school and their interests and where they want to be in 5 years from now, right? I think that's a big change. And when I first actually started off, I would actually underplay. I would never speak up. I would never actually talk to a senior lawyer what I'm looking for, right? I want to be like you in 10 years. And that has changed. And also mentorship. If someone comes up to me and asks that, questions, how did you start your practice? What are the challenges? I would sit down and happily exchange, my experiences and also happy to mentor them if the time permits. Thank you.
So, by profession, because I'm a manager, right, end of day. So what happens is, these days, I see my interns who just joined, they take 2 weeks of leave to go to Paris, to go to New York. To be frank, for a generation, right, going to abroad was like a dream, It's now such a common thing. But on this table, right, I know many of us, we are the first generation women to have a abroad travel. So anything that, you remember from that abroad travel, what is that experience? Anything that you feel like you should share with this audience?
Okay, I'll go ahead. So I traveled to US first time back in 2006 or 2007 through my job. And the first time I went there, so we were in a conference, it was a session that was happening. And I'm a born vegetarian, okay, and now I'm converted. But back in those days, I see this lady who comes in and she's sitting right next to me. Would you mind if I eat an ox? I'm like, okay. And I'm like seeing what it is. So that was a culture shock for me back then. And I also remember another thing that, so in the conference, of course, I didn't understand something, so I said, I have a doubt. So in the US, when you say I have a doubt, it means that you're doubting them, right? You're supposed to say, I need a clarification. That's what it is. But we are English. We learned UK English and born and brought up in India, learned here. We don't know all these things. And we go to a store, we ask for a tissue paper, they say it's in the bathroom. That's what you get. So this was my first trip, first experience that I had. And of course, I'll never forget that.
So I went to the US in '97. I had many interesting things going on. I mean, I was practicing in India. Then I had an opportunity. I applied to different universities when I was carrying my first child. So, you know, and so I was talking to my husband. If I get into the US universities, will you send me? Can I go? Whatever. I was trying to seek family support. And he said, okay, if you get it, go. You know, I'll send. So he had to stick to his word, you know, poor thing. But I got into Columbia, Cornell, UPenn, and I chose Columbia to go to. But then my son was 7 months old, you know, when I got into the college. So I really had to seek my mother. My mother stood up and she said, I'll take care of your son. I'm there. And my husband said, we'll take care. The entire family supported. I left Harsha here in India with my family. Then went to the US to study because my father-in-law said, you know, you're not going to get these opportunities again. Opportunity knocks only once on your door. You let it go, you may not get it. So go. So the entire family supported. I took a loan and went, like what Devika said. And when I went to the US, I landed with 2 large suitcases. A friend of mine was supposed to come to pick me up. There was no cell phones, there were no telephone communication, no WhatsApp, you know, nothing. So I ended up with 2 suitcases and, you know, my friend didn't show up at the airport and I went to Columbia and I had to find my place to stay in the night. So quite a few challenges there. And, you know, we were not talking to family then, you know, it was very different times we lived in that time. The other cultural issues that I saw when I was in the law firm, I was in a very large law firm called Sidley, around 2,500 lawyers. We were told that women associates were expected to wear skirts and not pant suits. You know, skirt suits was the norm because pants were meant for the older partners. I'm not sure, you know, how many of you heard that. So it was fine. I was young then, it was good. But, you know, culturally it was very different. So quite a few of those issues. And we were calling our seniors sir and ma'am. And that was also not expected, you know. So
in that, right, Jervis, like, because you are globally running your business, right? So how are you managing this? Do you see, for example, you have something in Dubai, you have something in India now, right? Do you want to give some information of how are you taking this risk and how are you running business globally?
I'm smiling everywhere. It helps everywhere. But yeah, no, there are many differences, cultural differences, but that's what I like and that's what keeps me running and that's why I choose this path. So that's it for
From
now.
policy standpoint, right? Who is helping you in terms of, you know, for example, for any entrepreneur here, if they want to establish their business across, right? How do you run it? Who is helping you? Are any tips there?
Yeah, well, I have tips in general for running business. I would say don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to ask. And don't be afraid to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. The other way around, do fail, do ask, and do surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And then as a business maybe, having great ideas, with all respect, that is not the difficult part. I have thousands in my dreams. But the good execution of a good idea, that is where you really can make the difference. And if you aim to make a difference in this world and do impactful things that I hope I can do now in this second part of my life, yeah, then you have to fail and have to ask and have to surround yourself with beautiful people. So thank you for me being here.
Yep. So definitely from this round table, I'm sure audience would look for some tips. for example, I'm at corporate, right? Many of them are in corporates and they want to start business. So it's very important that because you have this successful journey so far, it's important that we hear from you some of the tips before we go back to audience for different questions. So any tips that you would like to give for women who wants to start?
Yes, we should, yes. So there have been a lot of tips being given throughout the last 3 days from people who are really experienced, etc., in doing this. But I was looking for something that I could say with reference to being a woman in business. Are there any specific tips that we can give ourselves? I think one of the issue is that we tend to view ourselves as being less than what we are, right? When you're a woman, sometimes that happens, whatever it might be, upbringing or culture, or whatever it is. I think it's important to overcome that, overcome your perception about yourself, overcome self-doubt, right? And view yourself as the strong human being who can do anything. So if you view yourself as someone who can do anything, then you can do anything. In addition to that, I guess, having the right processes in place, right? We women, we do multiple jobs. We don't do just one job, right? We care for the family, we care for our children, we care for the, we have so many responsibilities, and then we take care of our businesses as well. So we're doing 3 jobs in place of 1. So I think it's important then to have a process in place. So if you have a process in place which is almost automated, then you'll see that you can do much more with your time, and you can give your time where you're needed. So it's important to have a process in place. Thank you.
Okay. One very important thing, and something that Sundari said, support system. It's extremely good to have a support system. And that may come from your family member, it could come from your best friend, or it could be from your mentor. For me, it came in the form of my mentor, who happens to be my investor too, and that worked very well. I wished when I started this journey 12 years ago, I had a network of all these women who I could rely on. One more tip would be tap into a network. If you know someone who's done it, rely on them, reach out. You will find another way of support systems. We've seen a lot of senior women in senior leadership roles, founding companies here, CEOs, head of partnership firms. Reach out, tap into that network. There's so many out there. And that's just one part of comfort that we sometimes need to reach out, especially if we are juggling our lives with our family and the life which is in our startup. Otherwise, just find a mentor that works best for you. It could be a man, woman, gender agnostic.
We all have Jay as our mentor.
Yes, for young women entrepreneurs, I would recommend that don't hesitate to volunteer. So ISF is a great example. I see so many young students volunteering. They get to meet all these leaders and also learn from them, and also a foot in the door. You never know who you bump into and who would give you that opportunity. So, and also reach out to people without hesitating. Just go up. People like confidence. Another day, an engineering student came up to me and said she wanted to pursue her higher education in Canada, and said, reach out to me. I handed in my business card and I said, email me. Of course I would help her, love to help her, because she's volunteering here and I saw her in action, and also get mentorship. Mentorship is a great way to actually learn from seniors, and don't hesitate to reach out to people that you look up to, and if they have time, they would, of course, help you. You never know. There's no harm in trying, right? Don't get rejected. Don't take it personal when someone has no time for you. Happens all the time. It's nothing personal, and don't be shy. Also, don't compare yourself with people who've done very well in life, because everybody has to start somewhere, right? So these are the things I would actually think young people would remember and build on that.
Of course, I agree with all the points that the ladies have said, but just to add to that, I would say, first and foremost, believe in yourself. I think that is what is very, very important. It's okay, I'm going back to what Mr. Subramaniam said, because that's what I also follow. Fail fast. You will fail, you will not succeed initially. There will be times where you'll feel, why did I even get into it? I was happy in my comfort zone. Don't do that. Back yourself up, inspire yourself. Again, I believe that. Inspire yourself, trust yourself. Everything is going to happen, but you will figure out. Only when you jump into the well, you'll figure out. It's a survival skills, and innately all of us have it. Don't get bogged down. And even if you get bogged down, feel that, okay, I failed. What could have I done better? Right? Maybe I didn't give my 100%. I gave 99%. That 1% if I had done, maybe it would have been better. It really worked for me. I think 2.5 years ago, if you had asked me, I had never even stepped into the land of Hyderabad. Now you see, I'm coming back to back here, and I think more people know me here than back in Karnataka also. It's like that. So don't hesitate, give it your try. If you fail, it's okay. There is another way where you will succeed. So trust yourself. Don't think that everybody else is better. I'm not good. And don't give up the chance that you have got just because you don't trust yourself. Because that chance you have got, which somebody else did not get, and that's why they are there. That's about it. So believe in yourself. Don't get demotivated by anything. What is to you and how much ever work you do, it will come back to you.
So just as a business lawyer, I get to work with several entrepreneurs, and women entrepreneurs in particular. What I find the biggest challenge, especially first generation women entrepreneurs, is access to capital. Access to capital, access to resources, and then the ability to network, like how it was dealt with, because you're not hanging out at the bars, you're not going for a drink with the people. That's generally how men network as well, right? Women have an inherent challenge there. Or you're not in the corporate world, you're not taking smoking breaks, or you're not, basically there are very few, you're not playing golf, you don't have the avenues to network, which are limitations on women. I would say we would probably network at the school event if I'm taking my child for a dance class or a sports thing. So that is something, there are inherent challenges. And I would say, and I'm seeing my sister is an entrepreneur herself, we can see the, are they really taken seriously by the investors? Are they really giving the hearing? Maybe there is something that in terms of diversity kind of a thing, you need to have certain percentage women-owned businesses that we need to invest in. There has to be some kind of a policy which kind of encourages to look at more women-owned entrepreneurs and see how we can support them. Not just in the impact funding. It may be just pure profitability, but that is something I think across the board, since there are so many investors sitting here, I'm just saying, that may be something to consider.
I'm just going to add one more point, that is, believe in yourself and never stop learning. There's learning in everything. In every people, in every act that happens. When you fail, you at least learn how not to do a particular thing. So believe in yourself and keep learning. Never stop learning.
I love the school function thing. We all suddenly related to it.
Yeah, so the reason I've become an entrepreneur is because there were only two questions I would always ask. Do I really want to work for myself, or do I want to work for somebody? The answer always came back as, to me, as I would be rather happy working for myself. So and that working for myself is such an undefined area. It comes with so many challenges. And those challenges are sum total of what everybody said here. You have to believe in yourself, you need to network, you need to do all of those things. Those that were very comfortably provided by, let's say, your employer before, you now have to create them by yourself. So I would say if you want to plunge into entrepreneurship, the first thing is figure out, are you really an entrepreneur material, and do you have it in you to stay the course, because it is a tough course. It is not going to be easy. It is going to be, like she said, every day you wake up and say, did I do the right thing? It is going to be tough. So first evaluate yourself and then figure out, after the evaluation, this is what I want to do, then get into it. That's the only tip I would give. the answer for that for me personally came back as, yes, I want to be an entrepreneur, so here I am. So that's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one thing, honestly, I was never sure 100% that I want to be an entrepreneur, but it was one day at a time. It was this dream that I wanted to create something that made sense.
So,
And you just reinforce your belief. And COVID was a really tough time, you know. That was one time I was so sure if I've been so happy just getting a good fat paycheck somewhere rather than to think how do I get the company
I
to
agree.
survive and pay
I
salaries.
agree.
But it's not an easy journey. If you have the conviction from day one, you've already made it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't have. It was one day at a time, and now 12 years. It's just.
but I would like to add something to that, right?
Each journey is different, right? So, journey might be different from each. For everyone, it might be different.
Right.
So, but we'll have examples of both. Somebody is very clear about the journey, and somebody is
it's
learning
not,
it.
If you don't know if you want to be an entrepreneur, the other question that I would say you ask is, do you want to work for somebody? The answer there would be very clear. If you're not going to like your boss, then what are you going to do?
Change the boss. So I do have a few more questions, but I know what I have done in previous roundtable. When panel was discussing, I was looking at my mobile. So I want to make sure that I am engaging my audience a little bit. So any questions for this panel? So we learn from our mistakes. So I know what I have done in previous roundtable. So any questions for these women leaders? At least, oh, good. Love that. D&I. So can anybody help me getting mic there? Do we have mics? I think she needs mic. Can you please pass on the mic? All these women leaders, see, women travel is not easy. They travel from different locations. So we need to respect it. A round of applause for this before we get that question. Thank you. For these leaders.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Firstly, it's lovely seeing a lot of women on the...
Can you be a little louder, please? Yeah, it is.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Firstly, it's lovely seeing so many women on the dais. And I just wanted to ask, how do we strike balance between professional and personal life? Yeah.
See, we wantedly did not touch upon that. We were expecting this question. Yeah.
I think most importantly, it's important to have a good life partner who will understand and share your journey with you. Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, right? It's important that in the household roles are flexible, right? That's the way forward, right? It's not that, okay, you have to do this and I have to do that and I won't do this and, etc., etc. So there has to be more flexibility in the household, in general, I'm saying, with society, in order for women to come into the workforce, right? Intrinsically, yes, we are caregivers and we care for our children, and no matter who is taking care of them, we still want to take care of them, right? But we will do that, but we need a lot of support. And as someone was saying, have a sisterhood, right? Have a group of women around you who will help you, whether it be family, whether it be, your people at work, your friends at work. It's important, I think, to have, a strong sisterhood around you who can help you.
Work-life balance is all in your head. Actually, we think that working hard, working long hours is great, right? It's not. So working smart is the way to go. And also, these days, a lot of men at home are chipping in. And I see that with a lot of my friends and also your generation, younger generation, and they share their duties, parenthood, and also taking care of children. And you have your own network, right, like support, and then you set the rules. These are not hard and fast rules. Now, even employers are changing. They're very accommodating and to keep the talent. So don't be afraid, because when we started off our careers, we were very afraid to speak up. Fear of losing a job when you ask time off to take care of your child or your parents or your sick parents. But now things have changed. So the employers and the companies are actually thinking about keeping the talent, not to so focused on, the hours and all. Thank you.
I think personally, what I feel is, as women, we hesitate to tell this is what we want, right? Once our family also knows that this is what we want, like what Sundari rightly said, her father-in-law told her, this is a chance you've got, you should go. Because he knew that is what is important. I think if we give that clarity that, yes, this is what we want, this is the time for family, this is the time for work, I believe it would sort out a lot of things.
One day at a time. I think I did not see any time a clear work-life balance. I think it's a period. What is more priority for that day at a time. So we are going to come back to other questions, but I do have one question from my end. Women do not support other women. We all heard about it, right? So one woman is not supporting other women. One woman leader is not supporting other women. So did you guys hear it? This is what we hear. So I want to hear from them. How true is this statement? Anything that you want to add on this statement? Because I heard it many times.
It's just a myth.
I love that.
I
love that.
I agree with you. That statement doesn't. Yeah, panel is all here. We are all supporting each other. That statement is wrong. It's a myth. Just ignore it.
That may have been true. Women don't support women, don't work with other women partners because they have gone through really tough times, so they're going to give you a tough time. That's how people believed in the large law firms. But things have changed, and I'm very, very proud to say at least 2/3 of the people in the office today, we are all women lawyers. It's like, of course, we try to maintain gender parity. It's important to have men and women. Shouldn't be totally women-centric. But that being said, I just wanted to add to the equilibrium question, work-life balance, family and work, but at the same time, our own health, right? That seems to be getting completely neglected, okay? That is something we need to focus on because we work with so many young women in the office. Many of them are developing health issues because they're not able to take care of themselves. So in addition to taking care of family and work, take care of ourselves. That's the tip I would give.
Can you give mic to Jay sir once before you go for the next question? You want to ask a question? Who wants to ask a question? No matter. I know there are many questions, but we'll end session with the Jay sir's question.
We have a very powerful woman panel here. So I have a request. Can we create a ISF woman wing and not a passive wing? It has to be very active ISF woman wing, and you have to call for women entrepreneurs all over the globe, wherever they are, either through Zoom calls and whatever mechanism, and you have to beat the ISF main wing by getting more entrepreneurs through your channels. Can you take that challenge?
Yes,
Right?
yes, of course. I think compared to last year, we see more women this time who have joined in as volunteers.
So already we have given you a base. Now from this base you have to take it to the next level. Are you ready?
Jay Garu, we are all in, but we want all the men here to ensure that the woman wing is more successful than the male wing.
No,
So it has to be both.
We will certainly work with you. We are there to help and see that more women entrepreneurs are supported. And another request, we don't have offices in our countries like Canada. Can you take up that responsibility to have Toronto ISF wing, and we will have an event, maybe ISF woman entrepreneur wing or whatever, but we will all support.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for giving me that responsibility.
Thank you.
I was going to say,
And I also want to add something. It's not just, only women. There's a lot of men who encourage women entrepreneurs. And J.A. Garu is one of them. He encouraged so many women to join ISF and be the leaders and mentors. I think they deserve a bit of, compliments and also respect.
No, I'm telling you, the way Sridevi Reddy was after me for getting one meeting, and she was not leaving. I mean, that is a kind of entrepreneurial spirit you all of you have got. So I suggest Rashmi was with ISF, particularly from Washington DC from day one. Can you take the leadership position and make ISF wing more successful, and all others will be part of your wing?
Sure, sure.
Thanks.
So I know there is somebody is continuously hinting me that we need to close this session. We do have a lot of questions, but probably our leaders would take it offline. Thank you so much for traveling, for coming here and making this session again, ISF core team, right? I'll say again, for making this event very successful. Thank you, everyone.
Jay Garu, next time this should be on the first day, not last day.
Wow.
Yes, sir. We humbly request you to come on the dais and grace the event of real women empowerment. A token of respect on behalf of ISF will be handed over to all the dignitaries over here. And let me take all to 60s. Do you all remember there was a singer by name James Brown who used to sing a song, it's a men's world, but we are in the 21st century under the leadership of Jay Chaudhary Garu. We are in the women's world, and women are rocking in every arena and creating the space for themselves. And hereafter, all the women sitting over here, start dreaming, start entering into startups, and we all are here to support you under the banner of ISF. Thank you once again. We have just witnessed the bold and beautiful, the ladies who march with brains, by breaking the taboos, by breaking the ceilings, and making a space in this competitive world, challenging themselves at every level. So I request all of you all to give them the standing ovation and a big applaud. All of you all, thank you very much. They truly, truly deserve it. There's always a saying, if a woman is empowered in the family, the community develops. If the community develops, the nation develops. So here we witness a true women empowerment on today's date. And thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Please remain seated.